Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nally, your testimony mentions that natural gas prices in the U.S. have tripled as of last month, and that areas like New England are at risk of higher price spikes due to limited pipeline capacity. Would more robust pipeline infrastructure result in lower prices and less dependence on foreign imports?
Well, New England is, does face a certain set of challenges because of the limited pipeline capacity. So, yeah, it is subject to, higher prices.
So would more robust pipeline infrastructure result in lower prices and less dependence on foreign imports?
Yes.
Okay. The House Reconciliation Bill imposes a new fee on methane emissions, which I'm sure concerns our chairman as well as myself, that's in essence just a tax on natural gas. The bill also increases fees and royalty rates for U.S. producers operating on federal lands. Is it fair to assume that these proposals will lead to lower U.S. production and increase our reliance on energy from less stable parts of the world?
So any pending legislation, being a policy-neutral organization, we wouldn't want to comment on that.
In general, theoretically, would higher taxes and increased fees and royalties cause the price of a commodity to go up?
Yes.
Thank you. Crude oil pricing. In 2015, we passed a bipartisan effort to lift the decades-old ban on U.S. crude exports, which has helped to grow our energy resources. Would you agree that lifting the ban on U.S. crude exports has helped counter the influence of our global energy competitors like Russia and OPEC?
We'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Pipelines, Line 3. So we're an ag state. North Dakota is an ag state, and we're very concerned about increased fuel prices across the board, but certainly how they impact our farmers, being a large ag-producing state. Recently, Line 3 pipeline that crosses North Dakota was restored to full capacity, replacing an existing pipeline originally built in the 60s. Do you see a need for further capacity expansions to transport crude oil into and throughout the United States as well as natural gas?
Well, pipeline capacity is an issue. It affects regional, areas where oil can flow easily. So yes.
Okay. And if Line 3 had not been replaced and its design capacity restored, what would have happened to fuel prices? What would have been the impact on rail traffic, particularly for farmers dependent on, rail capacity to move their product to market as well?
We'd have to look at this particular situation. I don't know off the top of my head today.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Gould, in your testimony, you noted that global demand for three major traditional fuels, natural gas, oil, and coal, have all increased in response to the economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. You also mentioned occurrences of fuel switching from natural gas to coal in response to record high gas prices. Are efforts to curtail new fossil fuel production exacerbating the challenges of ensuring we have sufficient energy supplies to meet consumer demand?
So I think there's been a halving in investment in oil and gas upstream since 2014. And as all of the distinguished members of the committee are aware, there has not been anything close to a halving in consumption over that period. So we've had a dramatic fall in investment over the last 7 years in the upstream. The reasons for that, though, are primarily due to the falls in the oil price in 2014, 2015, and again last year, which cut revenues, which led companies to cut back heavily on their upstream production. So I certainly agree that we've seen a very significant fall in investment in recent times. I think the primary responsibility for that lies in the sort of market dynamics that I've described.
Because coal continues to be a cost-effective, dependable fuel source, does the IEA continue to agree that carbon capture technologies are indispensable to meeting both our energy needs and climate goals?
Yes, we do modeling of different climate scenarios. We require to have carbon capture utilization and storage as a very important technology in these decarbonization scenarios, in these energy transition scenarios. One of the reasons for that is in the power sector, but there are also important applications for this technology in industry, also in the production of hydrogen, and also potentially in sort of direct air capture technologies as well.
Thank you.